We heard a lot about the need for linkages between the private sector and social innovations to be changing in terms of our prosperity, but that prosperity is also not just simply a financial issue. I want to welcome the other members of our distinguished panel to provide their reactions and insights from their expertise, and I'll invite them one by one to the stage. I'd first like to invite Ms. Karina Vale, who is the Senior Education Specialist for ADB. And she works here on ADB's growing educational sector operations to assist countries to meet the priorities established within the bank. She has particular expertise in understanding issues around innovative solutions, looking at blended learning, and effective industry engagement. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Michelle Tapia. She's a new addition to the panel, and she is the advisor and head of education and digital learning strategy for Globe Telecom. And she comes with more than 15 years of progressive experience in consulting and leadership experience, and looking at world-class executive expertise in media and content development. Really looking at how Globe can play an innovative role in education delivery and business development. And last but not least, I'd like to invite Ihon Chan, who is the Executive Director of Malaysia's Global Innovation and Creative Center. And so he will be with us just through lunch. He has a flight to catch, but he is extremely passionate and about creating opportunities through connecting people, capital, and ideas. Previously, he was the founder of the Spur Project, Australia's leading men's health organization, and co-founder of Hub Australia, a network of co-working communities across Australia, driving innovation through collaboration. So first, I'm going to move over here as well. And I'm going to invite the panelists to respond to what their key thoughts they thought from this morning's presentation, but also to provide their insights. And Ihon, I'll let you go first, given that you have a potential flight to catch early. In case we run over a little bit, I wanted to let you speak first.
Thank you. So yeah, first of all, I do want to apologize that I do have to run in about half an hour for my flight, but great to be here. So Alex has given a really good idea on generally speaking what is social business, social entrepreneurship, and the role of that in development. And I'll just quickly summarize a couple of things that I said as well this morning during a media interview. One is that Asia is heavily youth. In fact, a majority of Asia is very much young people, and we know that the old system, the capitalism system has not really worked out for millions and millions of people in Asia. So what is the new system moving forward, right? So capitalism has helped a lot of people get out of poverty, but it's also left hundreds of millions of people in poverty and create this disparity between the rich and the poor. And what's that inclusive model as we move towards a more inclusive economy is up to the young people to really pioneer. We will be the generation that inherit the big debt that the government and private sector are currently in. So we have to start being involved in decision making to ensure that we don't inherit a planet that's rapidly deteriorating as a result of climate change and an economic system that's going to collapse anytime soon.
Thank you. Michelle, given your expertise in working in the business sector, what are some of the key challenges that Globe is trying to address in working on education for skills development, and where do you see it going? We've talked about social entrepreneurship, social business, but what is the traditional business community looking at? Because we're seeing this expansion of corporate social responsibility shifting more into corporate social leadership, to be frank. And so what does that mean for Globe and one of the leading providers here in the Philippines in this particular space?
All right. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I like social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility, but I'm actually not from CSR. I'm from the corporate strategy and business development. And it's interesting because when I tell people about it, they're surprised because I'm handling education. And usually education is associated with corporate social responsibility. And that means charity, philanthropy, giving back. But my role is actually to create new businesses in the field of education technology. And our focus is to ensure that we prepare the youth for future jobs, the future workplace, and make sure that they have the skills and the knowledge needed in 5 to 10 years. The landscape, the employment and business landscape is changing, and we need the jobs that will be needed in 10 years we don't know them yet. Okay? But we know that they'll be digital, they'll use technology, and so Globe wants to make sure that we address the current gaps so that we can facilitate skills development to prepare for the future.
And Karina, from what the bank is engaged in, I know the portfolio is growing. We're seeing a larger prioritization of TRED and skills building within the bank. In all of the discussions with each of the geographic areas, everyone is talking about the skills mismatch. And how is the bank looking at increasing its footprint in the area of skills building, but also engaging young people and the private sector in these areas?
Right. Hello, everybody. Great to be here. If I may, can I just start by making some comments, some more general comments, sparked by Alex's presentation, where two things came to me right at the beginning. He was talking about individual jobs, the thing about, you might want to get a job at ADB, in China, do this, that, the other, and yours about wearing a suit. So there was a bit of discussion about general personal jobs for youth in Asia, and then there was quite a lot of discussion about social businesses and social entrepreneurship. Now, I just want to make a couple of comments on those, and they are, and then related to ADB. You're in a the place in which most of the people in this room are standing, the space in which you're at the moment, is one of great uncertainty. And we do know, as Mitch was saying, that the digital revolution will totally change the kind of jobs that you're doing. That's a massive thing. But there's other changes, and we do know that a lot of the jobs you'll be doing in 15 years we haven't got a name for yet. But there's a lot of things that we don't know. So the focus at an individual level, the message I have, is about employability, not employment, to prepare yourselves for the world that is coming, even if you can't quite name what it is that might be there around the corner, and to stay abreast of trends and to keep learning and adapting. And one of the things we say is that the things that will increasingly separate out one person to the next, workmates sitting at the next table to each other, and one company to the next, and one country to the next, is the capacity to continue to learn and adapt to new situations. And we're seeing, we're thinking at ADB, we're thinking that gap will get even bigger. At the moment, it's like, they know this and I don't know that, but whatever. It's going to become crucially important, because in a flatter world, in a digitalized world, normal average is just not okay. Average is not okay. Average is nothing. Everyone's moving forward. You've got to really leapfrog over to make your mark. So at an individual level, we know that there's a hollowing out of the middle classes. We know that Asia, the trends for employment are speeding up, following the trends from the OECD countries, but getting faster. Now, on the thing about the social entrepreneurship, One of the things we also know is that the formal jobs are diminishing. Now, a lot of you are talking about social entrepreneurship or setting up NGOs from a fantastic stand of altruism and engagement with society, and in that way you are a global elite. You may not all be from wealthy families. Some of you I'm sure are, and that's giving you the space to explore your interests. Some of you are not, but you are all part of a global elite because you're at a function like this. Fact. Now, you're setting up your NGOs and your so forth. Some of them will spin into businesses, and that's fantastic. And it's not only fantastic, it's actually necessary, because jobs are reducing. Work will continue, but formal jobs are reducing. People more and more will have to find their own work, create their own jobs, set up their own businesses. So to have social businesses that can be economically sustainable, adhere to good principles, all the things that you put up with those lovely 7 principles, I just started scribbling them too late, is absolutely tremendous. So there's a relationship between those two, and I do encourage you to think of your NGOs, to look at them as a platform for potential growth for yourself and your friends and cohorts, because that is the trend. Finally, I'll just touch on the ADB, which is, what are we doing? We're helping countries in Asia and the Pacific meet their needs for skills. So basic education, a lot of countries are saying, yeah, we've sort of got the hang of that. And thanks, global community, for all the free money. Thanks to all the donors who are given for education for all. But gee, we're having trouble figuring out how to position our young people for the world of work, and our employers are having a difficulty finding. We've got many countries where you've got the same paradox. Young people are saying, we're unemployed, we can't find jobs, and employers are saying, we can't find workers. How come we can't find workers when everybody says they're unemployed, they want to work, and we can't find workers? So we're working with governments to try and close that gap, to help them prepare young people for the world of work, and to bring the private sector and governments closer together, and to get those systems in place. And as John said, it's absolutely the fastest area of growth within our education portfolio. More governments are calling us and writing to us and talking to us and saying, that's the area we need help with. That's the fastest area they want help with, because it's becoming of critical importance in so many countries.
I think one of the things that the panelists touched on for me, and what scares me as someone in my lifetime as also an opportunity and challenge, but is that when I went to school, I was to learn something, learn how to do something. I was supposed to learn how to be someone in my university. That has begun to transition, and now it seems in this Uber economy that there's a lot more weight being shifted to the need to be entrepreneurial, which, let me be frank, I'm not entrepreneurial at all. I couldn't set up a business if you paid me. But I can work for somebody who has that insight. How do we instill this need for entrepreneurial thinking mindset throughout education versus seeing entrepreneurship as you can be skilled for waged employment or you can be an entrepreneur? You have to have something to be an entrepreneur about versus simply being an entrepreneur. And in this project-based world, this Uber specialization, is that entrepreneurial spirit much more necessary today than it is for my generation, do you think? Anyone can respond.
Sure. Great observation, and you're right. So I used to be in education research as well, and one of the big things that we observe is that we teach young people like you guys too much about a subject. We never teach them to be an entrepreneur. You know a lot about science. After you graduate from your Bachelor of Science, But put you in the lab, you don't know how to be a scientist. And that's the big problem with education. We don't teach people to be someone that we need them to be. We teach them too much about something. That's one big problem. So a lot of research now is looking at how do we actually teach people to be the individual we need them to be. So moving towards individualism is a big thing. But the huge difficulty to get over is the culture and mindset. Education started because of Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution happened, so they need lots and lots and lots of workers. So how can we create lots and lots of people to feed into the big corporations and manufacturing plant? Is to use the manufacturing model to education. So you have the bell system, you have the check-in system, you have, put them into different departments, you have the testing at every stage. If you fail the test, you repeat again, exactly like a factory, right? So that feeds lots and lots of people into the education system. So what's the new education thing look like? One, entrepreneurial skill I think is important. Second is the future and foresight. You guys should start thinking about the future now. Just an example. How many of you guys are from Philippines? Please put out your hand. If you have not used Uber before, how many from Philippines who have not used Grab before? One person. Grab. You know Grab, right? Yeah. So only one person who have never used Grab before. This is how the future is for us young people, and people don't think about it. In the future, transportation is not about owning a car anymore. Transportation is about owning an app. I just need an app and I have access to transportation. I don't need a car. Whereas the previous generation think about, if I need transportation, I must own a car. So if young people can start thinking and imagining what the future could look like, if the future of transportation is digital, if the future of water and sanitation is digital, if the future of education is digital, yeah? If the future of whatever it is, poverty eradication is digital, what would the future look like? And this is what young people should start thinking about, and that's where opportunities are. Digitization will get rid of a lot of jobs. That's a risk, and that's a threat, but it will also come with a lot of opportunities. But that opportunities can only be maximized on if we prepared to take on those opportunities. And that's when we need to now start thinking about what the future could look like and how can I start right now to prepare myself for that opportunity. If the future of water and sanitation and education is digital, let's start focusing on virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and all those kind of things to get us there, right? And start learning all about it right now. The top 7 jobs today didn't exist 5 years ago. So the top 10 jobs in the future will not exist today. We don't know what it's going to be. And that's both scary, but also exciting at the same time.
I'll go next. So I want to bring back the discussion to you, as individuals. Ihan asked you about, are you thinking strategically? Are you thinking about the future? So I want to ask you guys, how many of you have a plan for your future? A clear, specific plan for the future. Okay. How many has a vision, your own personal vision of your future, your vision? Okay, not all. Okay, and I assume everyone is in higher education, and some young professionals here. Okay, so I want to go back to what's your own plan or future. Some of you are maybe graduating or just graduated and may realize that, okay, I don't need my college degree in my current job, or I wasn't prepared by my education in doing my current job. And it's the same for a lot of people. We get into college, into university, because our parents told us, to get into these careers. Okay, that's one. Or at that time you were applying for college education, these are the only things you know. Okay, these are the only professions you know. Or you may not know you're good in math or science, but you don't know how to earn money using math and science skills. Okay? So I want to go back to you and think, go back to your strengths. Sometimes we focus too much on our weaknesses, improving our weaknesses, that we forget about our strengths. And our strengths will actually lead us into, okay, what can we do for the world? Okay, so what are your gifts? Okay, think about what your gifts are, and there's a reason why you have those gifts. Okay, and when we're doing career planning, I also do career planning, and we ask, before it was you're given like a career assessment, vocational inventory to know, okay, what are your interests? Okay, so that's still good, but try to think, okay, what are my strengths? What are the problems in the world that I want to solve, and how can I use my strengths? And that's where you get, okay, this is where my career would go. It may not be a very straight line path to your ideal career, but it leads you to a place where you can be productive and prosperous. Okay, so if you have those strengths, and the world will pay for it, and it's a path to individual prosperity. I want to emphasize on the individual because you have to start with yourself. So if you want to change the world, you have to live that change, right? You have to be a model of that change. And we see a lot of professionals or people creating new businesses, but they don't know how to manage their finances. So how can you be prosperous? Okay? So aside from digital literacy, one of the skills that we want to develop in our youth is financial literacy. All right? How many have savings right now? Savings? The earlier you save and invest, okay, the more money you will have in your retirement. Okay? And it's something that not every one of us know. I didn't know about this when I was in college or even in my early 20s. Nobody taught me. Okay? We have few models of how do I get rich? It's not bad to get rich, to have money. We ask him. You need money to do all your charity, to do all your advocacy. Okay, when you're in a nonprofit, you have all this advocacy. Okay? You have your passions. How will you implement your projects? You still need money. So, I want to go back. Prosperity and money. Money is not bad. It's neutral. It's how you use it that would make it good or bad. Okay? So we start with, how am I managing my money right now? How many of you have allowances? From your parents? Don't be shy. I had allowance when I was in college. Yeah? How many of you are working and are receiving an income? Okay. So how much of your income are you saving and investing? Half, 10%, nada. Yeah, I'm so, I'll admit it, and when I was working, I spent everything. Nobody taught me. Okay, so but now we have all this, we have access to information and learning, and start with yourself. Start with using what your strengths are to be productive and to solve the problems in your country, in the world. And then let's try to manage our own finances. And hopefully we can, through education, digital learning, we can develop our youth's financial and digital literacy. And, not just the youth, but everyone.
Touching on what you've just said about financial literacy, digital literacy, and what Karina talked about in terms of employability skills. I wanted to ask Karina, how are governments or the governments of member countries looking at the evolution of education systems around these individual education plans, but looking at it, you look at it from a system-wide approach, whereas our young people look at it from an individualized approach. And sort of that specialization in education that's sort of evolving or metamorphosing now, is that very difficult for the bank to really put loans in place to really tackle that? I mean, it seems like a very arduous task to really look at how you do a system-wide billion-dollar loan for education when there's such specialization happening. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. John. That's a very astute observation. And the one sentence answer is it's incredibly hard. And it's hard because people don't tend to look far ahead. The governments of developing countries with whom we work in their vocational education and training area, they're busy all day managing the colleges, managing this, managing that, not enough money, too many things to do all day, just like all of us in our own jobs. And they find it hard to step outside of that, to look to the future. And so we can try and help them do that, but it is challenging. There was a fellow here yesterday working on something or other. He came and gave us a seminar looking at the future of jobs. And it's pretty scary in terms of the real shifts. And I do want to actually just pass on one tip for people here. He said that, and